Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that you may be as you find yourself falling under the sound of my voice. As always, I'm sitting here at work, and I'm here to answer the question of the month for the month of May. I'm Lamia, and this question is really good because oftentimes we have no control over the narratives and or the messaging that's being put out there around people living with HIV. And so this question kind of gives us the opportunity to give our viewpoint on how we feel or how we have been made to feel as a person living with the virus. So the question is as follows. What stigmatizing HIV message did you have to overcome? And how does that show up in the way you maneuver in the world? Good question. There were particular messages growing up, both pre-HIV positive and post-diagnosis, that I found to be really disheartening. And one of those is, as a woman of faith, a believer, a minister of God's word, oftentimes in a religious setting, we were always made to feel, and it was sort of taught or implied, that if you live a particular lifestyle and you happen to contract HIV, that is what you deserve. That's God's way of punishing people that live an alternative lifestyle, if you want to say alternative. And once you were told that from over a pulpit or in a private counseling session, you were left to go home and have to, deal with that, had to unpack that by yourself. There were no outlets or resources within the religious institution that allowed you to feel okay with just having a disease. And no one taught you how to manage the disease. And you always kind of felt like, dang, why me? But in that same breath, as a person being diagnosed and a believer, as I stated, of the faith, if God wakes you up every morning, it's the same God that is waking me up. The same God that provides for you, it's the same God that provides for me. So each day that I have an opportunity to have life, health, and strength, full activities of my limbs, I know that that's by the grace of God. And so that messaging kind of went out the window. At the beginning, I had to let it out the window because I believe that the God that I serve, he's no respective person, and that he loves me just as much as he loves everyone else. A second part, as being a woman of trans experience, oftentimes within academic settings that come into community-based settings, we're often taught that, women of trans experience are more likely to contract the virus. And for a long time, I don't know what it was about that statement, about that truth, about that statistic, but it really always rubbed me the wrong way. Because I know women of trans experience that are thriving, that are HIV negative. And so I kind of felt like, just because of my identity, people are automatically going to assume, that person has HIV. Being a former sex worker, that person has HIV. And I just feel like those stereotypes, that type of messaging, if not carefully followed up, can be very devastating to an individual, especially young individuals, people that have not yet had the opportunity to experience and maneuver through life. And so I've taken those messages and took it upon myself to be an educator. Not just an educator, but a believer in myself, a believer in the process, a believer in the therapeutics. That's why I'm able to speak before you today, being undetectable, healthy, and thriving, being a person of HIV experience, and also being a person of trans experience. And so those messagings at first were devastating to hear. It was very hard to digest. However, as time went on and as I educated myself and surrounded myself around like-minded people, allowed myself to have a support system, I easily was able to rewrite that narrative, write my own messaging, and that's why I'm a part of this beautiful campaign, HIV Starts With Me, because I feel that the more you see individuals living and thriving, living in their authentic truth, and surviving, um, the more you'll feel that you too, or someone that you know that's infected, will have an opportunity to live a long, prosperous, productive life. So, as always, if you or anyone that you know needs information regarding testing, um, sites within your area, community-based organizations, please do not hesitate to go over to hivstartswithme.org, and you'll be able to find all that you need and also view other spokesmodel videos. I will talk to you later. Adios.